Hi, everybody. Welcome. And welcome to YouTube today on John's Briefs. I'm here with Terry Johnson from Firearms Legal Protection. Again, one of the least scumbaggy attorneys I've ever met.
I want to kiss you when you say that.
And I got yelled at in the comments section because I was told, I was like, oh, you know, you should respect lawyers like you respect cops. And I was like, but lawyers aren't respectable like cops.
We're the worst things till you need us, but that's okay.
But when you need them, you do.
We're the best things, absolutely.
And we're filming at the ASP National Conference, and we're going to talk today in today's video about when a deadly threat ends and when we have to throttle down from a video on the main channel.
My family and my staff are all covered by Firearms Legal Protection because there is no better resource to help good, sane, sober, moral, prudent people after a use of force. They now have a great newsletter available to everyone for free as well. Sign up at the link below and check out their coverage too. Don't forget to thank them for bringing us today's video.
So if you go watch the video on the main channel that we're talking about here, it appeared on the main channel a few weeks ago and was in Brazil. Dude got carjacked. And unfortunately—
In Brazil?
Weird, right?
Yeah, never heard anything in Brazil.
And the unfortunate truth is that my projector got stolen by another presenter, and so I was gonna show it so that everybody remembers it. But if I basically describe it, dude's sitting in his car, two other guys roll up in a different car, guy gets out with a gun, points a gun at him, give me your car, buddy. Guy goes, whoa, okay, man. Gets out of his car, carjacker gets in his car, he runs off behind another car, and then draws his gun and shoots twice at that guy.
Right.
And then dude goes, ah! And I don't think he had the keys in the car, so he couldn't like start the car and get the heck away. So then our intrepid defender, after shooting at him a couple times, then gets him out of the car, whops him upside the head.
Pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good whop upside the head, and then it ends from there. There's interesting bits in there. A dude like drives a horse and buggy through the scene at one point. I don't even understand that.
It was the Amish of...
it's the Brazilian Amish.
Brazilian Amish, exactly.
I didn't even know they had Amish in Brazil. So what I want to ask you about, Terry, is, I mean, clearly a guy pointing a gun at you is a deadly threat.
Yes.
And when we have a deadly threat, then that legally and morally justifies us in using deadly force to stop that threat.
Correct.
But then...
You should go to law school. We're going to get them there. But we'll talk about that pretty soon. Go ahead, John. Laura's shaking her head no. We'll work on them, Laura.
In all my spare time. But at some point, that deadly threat ends.
Yes.
And then we're not authorized to use deadly force after that point.
Correct.
And I don't even think from a legal perspective. I think from a moral perspective as well. But Terry, is there a hard and fast place that I can define that?
Hard and fast, actually, I would say yes, and a lot of people will probably be surprised. You know, again, if you look at most state statutes, they really say if you are an imminent, and we talk about that word again and again, not intimate, not love, right, but imminent threat, meaning it's happening right here, right now. Now, if you go back to that video, the guy was in imminent threat when the perpetrator came and pulled a gun on him. He's in the car, it's imminent. Oh my God, I'm in trouble. He runs away. He gets behind a car.
Which was tactically a great idea.
Great move. He's out of danger. Now, at that point, he says, hey, I'm out of danger, but I'm going to pull my gun and I'm going to point it back at this guy in the car. In my opinion, that's when it went wrong, because where's the imminent threat to use lethal force at that point? It's not there. It had left the moment he ran away.
But I mean, a lot of people in the comments section, and I get it, the internet comments section. I love you all, but there are some people. Behold my people. I'm the derp whisperer some days. And they come back and go, no, you know, that guy stealing a car is a scumbag, so he should have the right to kill him.
Well, you should never have the right to kill someone. Again, and let's talk about when we use a firearm. We use it as a tool of last resort. And how many shots does it take to take down a bad guy?
Many as it takes.
Many as it takes, right. So in this situation, if my intent is to kill someone, then I am now actually committing murder, not justifiable homicide.
So, right, and that's it. So if a justified homicide, in my understanding, and Terry, I want to ask you about this, is, again, if someone's an imminent deadly threat to me and to mine, then I can stop that threat.
Yes.
And if that causes death to him, to that deadly threat, that's on them.
Correct. But again, here's the thing that a lot of people, even though it's justified, it's still a crime. You have still committed a crime. However, it's justified. And the example I like to use is, watch his face when I say this. Assume you and Laura are having another kid, right? And
it would be a miracle of biblical proportions.
But it's happened before, right? But Laura's 9 months pregnant. Her water, has just broken. You've got her in the car. There's a stop sign. You're like, look, nobody's coming. I'm going to fly through this stop sign, and the police stop you. And what's going on? Oh my God, my wife's having a baby. I got to get her to the hospital. Okay, no problem. Now, have you broken a law?
Yeah, absolutely.
You went through a stop sign. Mm-hmm. But is it justified based upon the situation?
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's where a lot of people get, well, I didn't do anything wrong. Yeah, actually you did, but based upon the situation and the law, it was justified.
So, we would say taking another human life is against the law, right? We don't do that, and it's against the law because it's immoral.
Absolutely.
Right? However, there are times when we justify that conduct because of the circumstances surrounding it.
Exactly.
And actually, your example did happen with our third, that I maybe disregarded the constabulary on the way to the birth center a little bit. When
that was your first problem, though, was assuming I was going to a hospital. So.
Yeah. So my wife just said, assuming that she would be going to a hospital, no, if we had another baby, she would deliver it at home without question, being a home birth midwife.
Understand.
But so in this particular case, though, so now the imminent threat is over when he runs away and squats behind that other car.
It's done. It's stopped. There is a bright line at that point that a prosecutor can look and say, the threat is over.
Right. Well, especially because now, if you go watch the video, you should go watch the video to understand this one. It's not like the carjacker stands there with a gun in hand and tracks him to the car. As soon as that guy gets out of his car, he jumps in the car and is facing forward in the vehicle, as far as we know.
Correct. It looks like the carjacker's facing this way, has no visual on the good guy, who's appears to be over his left shoulder and behind the car.
Now, I want to ask another piece of this, though, because in some states, deadly force is legally justified to stop a forcible felony, and many times, so he's still in the process of an armed carjacking.
But where's the forcible felony? See, and again, I think it's going to depend on each state, but when you say forcible, is that forcible on another human, or is that forcible on property?
Well, but he pointed a gun at the guy to get him out of his car. That's force. So he used force in committing the carjacking.
Correct.
And he's still in the process of getting the car out of there, so he's still committing a carjacking.
No, the carjacking's over. Carjacking's over. Someone agreed with me. Somebody
that was your favorite, familiar, friendly former Fed over there.
Unless the guy's in front of the car about to be run over, the act of carjacking is complete at that point.
Now he's just illegally borrowing his car?
Now he's in possession of a stolen vehicle.
Now he's in possession of a stolen vehicle.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is history. A police officer and a defense attorney agreeing on something. So
there we go. So what Mike has said off camera is that the carjacking is completed. Now he's in possession of a stolen vehicle. But we're talking about mere seconds here.
But that's all it takes. And that's the thing you have to understand. If we go back to when we started here, the imminent threat, okay? If that imminent threat of death, great bodily harm, or forcible felony, whatever it is in your state, is over, then at that point, you can't use deadly force to protect yourself.
Yeah, okay. And I think that this comports with being a good, sane, sober, moral, prudent person. I think that, in my opinion, as somebody who seeks to keep people out of prison and seeks to avoid the aftermath of using deadly force, because every time you use deadly force, it's going to have significant social, emotional, spiritual connotations.
Absolutely.
I would only use the gun if I have to, only if I must. So there's this difference between can I use deadly force, should I use deadly force,
correct,
must I use deadly force?
Correct.
Now, in my opinion, dude's pointing a gun at him. It was the wrong time to try to draw a gun because then he's going to get shot. And you can't draw from the drop.
Correct.
So then he gets himself to a place where, okay, the guy isn't going to shoot me right now if I draw my gun. I'm even okay with him crouching behind the car and drawing his gun in case homie comes out of the car after him and decides he wants to kill him instead.
Okay. I would probably disagree with you, but okay.
I'm saying, yeah, I'll let him. We'll definitely. I would let him slide on that. The attorney wouldn't.
But here's the thing. We are talking about really two different things here. We're talking about, well, actually three. The first we're talking about is protecting yourself. Once our good guy left the area, and when I say the area, when he was in
The immediate vicinity there.
exactly, he was in a safe place. His safety is over, so that part's done.
Okay.
The second thing we're talking about is, okay, now this bad guy's committing a crime. He's stealing something. And in most states, and I'm not going to get into Texas, that'll be a whole nother video.
But it's in the daytime, so all y'all screaming Texas Penal Code 9.43,
Yeah.
it's daytime.
And the car can be replaced, but that's a whole nother story. But again, at that point, that's not something that you can use lethal force to protect someone. And here's the third part of this. Our good guy actually reinserted himself.
So
Because think of the people who live in states where there's a duty to retreat, right? You retreat, and then you say, well, hey, I'm going to come back now. And that's what this guy did. He actually came back to the scene of the crime. So to me, there's a lot of things going on there, but the moment he was safe and away, he should have stayed safe and away.
do you hear that principle, everybody? The minute you're actually safe and away, take the win.
Right.
He decided, no, let's have another deadly force encounter. Let's keep up the deadly force encounter, and all that time that he then goes to the window and he's pointing a gun at the guy like dumps his gun out the window. That guy could have decided in that moment, nah, I want to shoot it out with him.
Right.
So now I've had an optional gunfight.
Optional, exactly. You decided to reinsert yourself into the situation.
And now, of course, that's dangerous. That's wrong from a perspective of smarts. Now then, you could also get in trouble for it legally.
Absolutely.
Now, don't get me wrong. When he walks up to that kid and smacks him upside the head like his mama should have done 50 times when he was little, I'm okay. I felt good about that. I was like, dude points a gun at me, I'm gonna want to whop him upside the head too. I get it. But that doesn't mean just because somebody deserves a butt kicking doesn't mean I can give it to him.
Correct. And you might have a sympathetic prosecutor, and you might not. Because again, when we watch TV, we always, we're rooting for the Clint Eastwoods, yeah, go get him. Yeah, he did you wrong, go get him.
Yeah.
That's when the trouble starts.
And the other part of this is, okay, so what is he having a gunfight here for in the end of the day? Now, if he has his spouse, his kids in the car, completely different world. He has to fight, right? You've got to stop somebody kidnapping your children. Now we're protecting life. But otherwise, what is the fight over here?
Ego.
So not even property. Let's think about in the end of the day. So let's just say dude drives off with your car. What are you then going to do? You're going to call your insurance company, and what are they going to do?
Get your information, hopefully give you money for a car.
They're going to give you a bunch of money. How much money are they going to give you? Everything minus your insurance deductible.
Right.
That the car is worth for you to go buy a new car. So what's your insurance deductible?
$500.
So most people, I think mine, Laura just redid ours, what, $500 is our insurance deductible? So now you're saying I'm going to have an optional gunfight for $500 out of my checkbook. I'm having a gunfight to save my insurance company money.
But you're going to spend way more than $500 if, in fact, you pull that gun out and go back to that position. If you reinsert yourself, you're going to spend way more than $500.
What? Why am I going to spend way more than $500, Terry?
Oh, well, hey, now you got to talk to the police, right? And you may have a prosecutor who says this is wrong, and they may decide to charge you. And now you may have to handle things like, pay for those scumbag attorneys.
Yeah,
right?
well, and I think, when you are paying the attorney, they have to feed their family, they have to pay their staff, they have to not take time for other cases, so that costs a bunch of money. And
there's a stupid tax some of us charge as well.
Tell us about stupid tax, Terry.
Well, it's kind of interesting. Sometimes you hear things that are so outrageous, and you just say, yeah, I got to charge you a little extra for this one. You know, I mean, I don't really want to go into details, but there's a certain thing called a stupid tax that some attorneys actually charge more.
When people do stupid things.
Yeah.
You're going to make me defend that?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you're going to pay me extra for it.
Right.
And
exactly.
Most attorneys, when you go to hire them, now, of course, if you're a Firearms Legal Protection member, you know, then you've got protection from this particular part.
Correct.
But when you start saying, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Attorney, I need you to answer the phone for me and come down with me and talk to the district attorney, they normally say, great, I need a 10-hour retainer. And that could be anywhere from $3,000 to $6,000 or $7,000 to start defending you. So that $500 that your insurance company is not going to cover starts looking pretty cheap, doesn't it?
When you were already safe and already away. As you said, you had the win.
Take the win. So from a smarts perspective, we only use the gun when we have to, because the consequences of using it are high.
Right.
I want you to recognize that. The consequences of using your firearm, even in a justified manner, are high. You're going to spend a bunch of money. You're going to spend a bunch of time.
But I was right.
Yeah, but I did the right thing. You're still going to spend a bunch of money proving that that what you did was right. You're going to spend a bunch of sleepless nights. I've talked to so many people who've been involved in gunfights who was months before they got a letter from the district attorney saying, after review, we believe that your conduct was justified, a declaration of justification. And so every night up to then, guess what? They went to bed with an ulcer thinking about whether or not they were going to get prosecuted.
Is there going to be a knock on the door from the police the next morning?
The next morning.
Yeah.
And so to me, you say, okay, wait a minute. This is why I only want to use that firearm when the consequences of not using it are so vast that I cannot abide by them.
Right.
I'm going to spend weeks to months in the hospital. Or they're going to send me to the morgue and my children don't get to grow up with their father. My grandchildren don't get to see their grandfather. My wife does not get to grow old and put her teeth in a cup with the dude that was she was dumb enough to say yes to. And if we do it that way, if we restrain ourselves to that, then we're probably going to be okay.
I fully agree with you.
All right, so when the threat is over, and that's moment by moment, that is the jury is going to slice that into moments by moments, and otherwise, don't use your gun.
It's a tool of last resort.
Now, for our in-person audience, YouTube, of course, you're going to have to write comments and ask your questions, and we'll answer them in the comments, and you'll see Terry in the comments. But for you all, what questions do you have about this kind of scenario?